Yes. So, in our previous session, we have completed the whole subject. We have added the asymmetrical part of the subject. So, both the hands, the flute, the dupattas, and the braid. Okay. So, this much we have completed in the previous session. Now, it's time to place the background elements. Okay. So, there are some major background elements we will practice in today's session. And there are basically some flowers in 2 to 3 different sizes and 2 to 3 different shapes. So some of them are just flower buds. Some of them are full grown flowers. So there are more petals. So we will try to understand the shapes. I will also give you a small demo about the leaves, right? The lotus leaves. If you're planning to add Kamdenu cow, then you must watch the tutorial video and try to place the cows in the lower sections. Okay, so let us start this quick interactive demo. Let me go a little close. Yes, I hope you're able to see this. Okay. All of you, please mute yourselves and observe this demo. This is a more of a demo. You don't have to work with me. If anybody is, I mean, you're interested, then you can keep an A4 size drawing sheet with you and practice with me. Okay. So if you consider one flower, it's mostly a symmetrical shape, right? So if you see this shape of the flower, if you see this shape of the flower, it's mostly symmetrical. Okay. And for placing the flower, we will basically draw a circle and we will divide the circle into 4 quarters and then we will place the flower. Ideally, it's not a requirement to place the flower in this particular manner, but I have, come up with a simpler method because some of us are at a beginner's level. Although if you are comfortable directly placing it using the freehand drawing skills, you may surely do that. All of you, please mute yourselves. Lalita Mishra. Yes. Now let us start. First of all, you must draw a circle according to the required size of the flower. And for the canvas, I'll tell you the measurements. Okay. For the flowers, I'll give you the measurements for the circle. So right now I'm randomly taking a circle and I'm placing it right here. It's a demo. You don't have to work with me. You can just observe. So once the circle is placed, you have to decide in which direction you want the main petal, or you can say the flower facing. Right now the flower is facing upwards, but if in case you want your flower facing towards Srinathji or away from Srinathji, right? So that is also fine. But accordingly, you have to place the line of symmetry. So for example, if I want, okay, let me just place it upwards. The direction is upwards. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to show you the main petal. So first of all, you have to draw this droplet shape. For the main petal. Okay. First, this petal will be placed, which is coming right in the center. Okay. From that petal, you are supposed to place the other petals. You may mark on the circumference of the circle. This is my circumference of the circle. So all the petals will be mostly placed on the circumference. Okay. So I'm marking here. You may take the measurement from the center, as this is a symmetrical element. Mark a point and draw the petal. Okay. Once this is drawn, this point is marked. Okay. So you can just follow the same curve in a mirror view and then try to replicate the same curve. Right. So there are multiple flowers which are having only 3 petals. So this much would be more than enough if you're planning to add only 3 petals, right? But if you're planning to add more, then again you can mark on the circumference. Same point should be marked on both the sides. If you're good at your observational skills, you can directly mark. Otherwise, you may use the scale and mark. Okay. Observe the shape of the petal. Go slow. Draw very, very light initially. Once you're comfortable, once you're ready with the shape, you may go a little faster. Also, you may rotate your canvas according to the best movement of your hand, right? So all of you observed that I struggled in this particular curve. Why? Because the sheet is placed exactly vertical, and I'm not really good with, the opposite curve. That is my drawback or my disadvantage, right? When I'm working with this, I'm not really good with the opposite curve. Yes, I'm good with this curve. I can easily draw this curve. But when I have to pull the curve in towards me, it becomes difficult for me. So what I will do, I'll rotate my sheet like this, and then I'll draw the same curve because I know that this is my strong point. So I'll just rotate my sheet and work accordingly and rotate again, right? But as we are recording and I want you to see this vertical direction, I cannot rotate a lot. Okay, so please follow this, mark the points and rotate the sheet and draw the curve. You may use your scale and draw some horizontal lines which will guide you, horizontal and vertical lines which will guide you placing the petals, right? So this is my extreme bottom line at which my lower petals should be placed. You may make it a little curvy if you want. So initially I showed you the flower with only 3 petals. Now I showed you the flower with 7 petals, right? So this is the second variant. Now the third variant will have all the, petals in all the directions, right? Like this way. So for that, the same petal you need to place on the symmetrical line. It's okay if it is slightly asymmetrical. We do not want to make exact same mirror image because this is more of a natural element. So it's okay if it is a little asymmetrical. Do not hesitate to erase and redo. You may stop right here if you wish to go for this variant. And the last 2 petals will be overlapping and it's going to come from the back. It's going to overlap, but it's going to come from the back like this, only this much. Don't be, over enthusiastic and add more petals like this. Otherwise, it'll be very, very difficult for you to color. Although it will look very beautiful while you're doing the pencil line drawing, but when you're coloring, it'll be very difficult for us, right? It'll be hazardous because coloring these small elements, our brush won't give you the, similar effect. Blending effect won't come there. Check an overall shape of the flower. Wherever you think you can improvise, just make that improvement, right? So I showed you 3 varieties. One is having 3 petals, one is having 7, and the last is having, full flower. Okay, so 3 different variants. You can also connect it with the main twig like this. This is the stem of your flower. You may add the elements like the spiral. These elements should be placed wherever you see a negative space. If there is a very little space, you're not able to place a flower or a bud there, you may use these elements to just to fill in that blank space. So this is one variant. Now the another variant is going to be just the flower bud. Okay, so it's basically a droplet shape which we have already practiced in the mala. So this is another element. Very simple. If you want to make it a little more intricate, you may show petals wrapping each other like this. Okay. If you wish to go for 2 petals, then one will be the one which is in the center on the symmetrical line, and another one will be either on the right side or on the left side. You may add one here if you wish, and then connect it. So there are 2 to 3 variants which I have showed. One is this one with 2, one with 3 petals, one with 7, and one with the whole circle, whole flower, right? So these many variants are there. You may practice it on a rough piece of paper just to know the shape. Now the next is the leaves, right? lotus leaves. So here the shape is basically placed around this, around the oval shape. Okay, so initially this was on the circular shape. Now the next is going to be around the oval shape. So for that I'm going to draw. Let me just use this. Okay, so I'm going to first draw an oval around my vertical and horizontal line. You can again use the symmetrical method for drawing the oval, more like this. Once the oval is placed, you can place a semicircular shape or a quarter or a segment of a circle like this. Now your task is to make this oval a little wavy. You can add a wavy line around this oval. It's okay if it is going beyond the oval. Again, draw a wavy line, connect it like this. Then you may connect it with the main stem. Over here, if you wish to add two semicircular shapes, that's fine. Here, the angle at which you must be placing your strokes, once we start coloring, the angle will be this one. This way you have to place the strokes. That I will guide you once we start coloring. So there are 2 to 3 variants even in the leaves which you may practice, but the method remains the same. You must place an oval, then a semicircular shape, and then you may make it a little wavy. So your leaf is ready, right? So we are just going to practice these many elements. The rest of the elements can be practiced at home. Like if you want to place the Kamdenu cow, then I have prepared one tutorial video for the same, which you can observe and practice it on a rough piece of paper. In the tutorial video, I'm showing how to practice the cow in this size. This is an A4 size on which we're practicing, and the same cow is taught through the tutorial video. You can watch it, and then later the placement of the cow on our canvas is also taught. So that can be learned. Okay, so before we start, let me show you what all 3 to 4 placements of the background elements are there. So let us observe that first. You can keep your canvas now ready with you because we will start. Okay, so this is one placement which is not covered through the tutorial videos because the shape of the cow is slightly different. Although you may use the same shape and place the cow right at the bottom, right? 2 cows can be placed. You may eliminate the rest of the flowers and place some of the flowers, overlapping the cow, just in order to balance it out. Some of the flowers can come here. This is one placement. Okay, although it's not covered through the videos. This is another placement wherein we will start from the symmetrical part of the flowers in the lower section. So almost this much is symmetrical. You can see this much is symmetrical. Apart from that, the rest of the flowers are placed using the grid method, or you can say your pre-hand drawing skills. Okay. If you consider individual flower, then you can use symmetrical method, which we have just seen a demo. You can use that method, draw a circle, get the direction of the flower. Maybe, for example, here the symmetrical line is going to be towards the subject, towards Srinaji. Here the symmetrical line is towards this direction. Here it's towards this direction. Draw a circle, find out the direction, and place the flower, right? In the lower section here, it's going to be more symmetrical. So that we will learn in the class. This is the last and very minimalistic, I would say, placement, only having some of the flowers in the lower section. All of them are symmetrical. Some of the flowers coming, from the subject right over here. And here in this case, the border is more complex. You can see the border is having a lot of flowers and, other elements like leaves and seed pods. So that is why that was the only reason we made it a little complex, because there is no background element in the upper section, right? But while coloring, we will decide whether we want to add some textures, whether we want to add some other elements like maybe some dots or something else, right? That we will decide later. So these are the 3 placements. Now we must start drawing on the canvas. All of you, please observe this. You may start working with me. First of all, let me give you the placement for these two circles. We'll start with the lower section of the background elements. So all of you, please take out your rounder, take out your scale and your pencil. Three things are required.
Sir, just one question. If I want to place the Kamdhenu cows, how much space do
Then
I need?
you No, then you do not have to work right now. You need to watch the videos then. Don't work
Okay,
right now. You need to watch the videos then.
okay,
If
okay.
students who are going to place the Kamdenu cows, then they must not work right now. They can just observe or they may leave. That's totally your choice, because for placing the Kamdenu cow, the whole lower section is supposed to be covered with, two cows. So one here, one on the other side, and here you may place some of the flower buds and some petals. Right. So in today's class, I'm going to teach you how to place the flowers. So
Excuse me,
please,
sir.
yes.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. Sir, जो कामधेनु अगर रखना है दोनों साइड में, तो is it enough to keep it there?
Hanji, it's enough. I have made a video. I have made a video.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Please, yeah. Please hold your questions now. Okay. Now we are supposed to place a circle. Just observe. We are supposed to place a circle of 3 centimeter. We are supposed to place a circle of 3 centimeters. So take out your scale, take out your rounder, measure 3 centimeter as the radius, and first of all, mark this point. This point is nothing but the second intersection of the lower left corner. Okay. So this is my first intersecting point. This is my second intersecting point from the bottom and from the left. From the bottom and from the left. Apurva Jain needs to mute. So this is my second intersecting point from the bottom and second from the left. Mark a point there. Mark a point there. Use your rounder. Use your scale. Take 3 centimeters the radius. Place your rounder at this intersecting point and draw a circle. Draw a circle. Okay. I'm repeating myself. If you missed out anything, please observe. You need to mark at the second intersecting point from the bottom and second from the left. In the same manner, you can do it in the right side. Second from the bottom, second from the left, and on the other side, it will be second from the bottom and second from the right. Mark a dot. Take out your scale and your rounder. Measure 3 centimeter as the radius. Place your rounder at this intersecting point and draw a circle. First of all, let us mark these two circles and then we will place the line of symmetry. Okay, now the next point will come on the second, just below it, there is one horizontal line. Yes. Any questions? Okay. The second point is going to be in the lower horizontal line that is the first horizontal line from the bottom. Okay, you can say the last horizontal line on the lower section, which is just coming right below this one. Okay, the last horizontal line. And you need to mark from the first intersecting point from the bottom and first from the left, first intersecting point from the bottom and from the left. Take 1.5 centimeter towards the center, 1.5 centimeter towards the center, and mark a dot there. I'm repeating myself. If you missed anything, please observe. You need to mark at the first intersecting point from the bottom. Take it towards the center and mark 1.5 centimeter as it will be your distance, and mark a dot 1.5 centimeter from this point, from this intersecting point towards the center, towards the pedestal. Okay. Mark a dot there. Use your rounder, same rounder. 3 centimeter will be the radius. Place your rounder at that point and mark a circle. Draw a circle. Let me go a little close and show it to you again. Yes. So I'm repeating the whole thing again. If you missed anything, please observe. So first of all, we have marked from this point. So this is nothing but the second point from the bottom and second from the left, second intersecting point from the left. This is the extreme side of my canvas. Okay. So second from the left, second from the bottom. We have marked a dot there. That is nothing but your intersecting line, intersecting point of the grid line. Measure 3 centimeters from the rounder. Place your rounder here and draw a circle of 3 centimeter radius. Okay. Now the next point is going to be somewhere around this intersecting point. That is nothing but first intersecting point from the lower left corner. You need to measure 1.5 centimeter towards the pedestal. Place the same rounder having 3 centimeter radius and draw a circle. इतना आपको अभी तक करना है. You may repeat the same thing on the other side. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Now, that can be done later. So you may check how you're supposed to place the direction of your flower, right? So if you observe these two flowers, here the direction is towards Srinathji, and here the direction is exactly opposite. Okay, the main petal is facing towards the corner, and here the main petal is facing towards the subject Srinathji. Okay, so we are going to place a slant line, which is nothing but our line of symmetry, and we're going to place a perpendicular line, which is nothing but your guiding line for placing the petals. In the same manner, you're going to place a slant line according to the direction of your petal. You can place a slant line and exactly perpendicular line for placing the petals. This is just a guiding line. Okay. Now, first of all, observe. Don't do anything, just observe how you are supposed to place these petals. Observe. We will start with the main petal, which is coming right in the center. It's okay if your shapes are slightly here and there. As I mentioned that this is a natural element. So it's okay if it is not exact symmetrical shape. Okay. Mark 2 points on the circumference of the circle. These 2 points should be equally placed on both the sides. Draw one petal on one side. Observe the curve. Try to replicate similar curve on the other side. Do not be over enthusiastic and go for very thin shapes. I have seen students, they add the petals, this thin. Later, while coloring, it becomes very, very difficult for us, right? So at least leave 1 centimeter distance between the petals, maybe 1 or 1.5, right? Like this. Minimum 1 to 1.5 distance can be left. Try to maintain the quality and the characteristic of your flower. Now, can anyone tell me what is the mistake in this particular flower?
Sir, the second and the third petals are very different. One has a
Very
curve,
different.
one
Very good.
doesn't have.
Very good. So here in this particular flower, you can observe that there is a unity, right? But here it's not looking similar because the petals, the direction of the petals are different. So I'm going to erase this curve because that is more of an S-shaped curve, opposite S shape. So I'll go for the same curve. Okay, so that you must be able to observe in your painting that, okay, here there is a mistake. I must make some changes to make it look uniform. There must be a characteristic in your each and every flower. Even when you're placing the flower and the flower bud, there should be some unity. Okay. Now the next petal will come somewhere here. You may mark the same direction. If you are not good at, marking directly with the pencil, you may use a scale and take your reference. Okay. You may place your scale for the bottom line. Now you got 2 points. One is your bottom line and one is your point at which this petal should be ending, right? So I'm going to curve it down like this, and mostly the shape will be same. गलती की गुंजाइश बहुत कम हो जाएगी जब आप मार्किंग करेंगे. When you use your scale, you mark multiple times, there are very less possibilities to make any mistakes, right? Like this. You may hold your work at this stage. If you're really happy with these many petals, do not go for a lot of petals. If you want to make it a full flower, that is also your choice. It's an individual choice. You already know the drill, how to place the flowers. So in the same manner, you're supposed to place the flower here in this particular circle. Yes, so in the reference image, you can observe that we have only added 1, 2, 3, and 4 petals, right? And 4 this side and 3 this side. So 7 petals flower is placed here. Now in the same manner, I'm going to place another flower here. The process remains the same, but the direction will be opposite this time. The main petal is going to be placed in this on this line because the direction is opposite. Sometimes you sit exactly in front of the main petal. For example, you sit right here, and right now I'm sitting here, so that I can observe the symmetrical part of it. You might face difficulties because of the textured surface. So in that case, I would suggest to go slow with small strokes. Hardly touch your canvas. With very little pressure, you can draw the lines. If you apply more pressure, you will tend to make your canvas a little dirty. At the same times, with pressure, the line quality will be struggling, and you will feel a vibration due to the textured surface. You will feel a vibration, and the line will be more like a wavy line rather than a straight or a curved line. Okay. So this is how you're supposed to place 2 flowers. Once after these 2 flowers are placed, we are supposed to connect these flowers with the main line. You can say the stem, and it's going to come in the center, right? So let me show you how you're supposed to connect it. So this is the line. This is my center line. Now here the symmetrical method will not help you. Here your grid method will help you. Okay. So at this intersecting point, you may observe that your flower is supposed to be connected. First of all, go with one line. Later we will double it. So how about this curve? What is the distance of this curve? You may go for the grid method. Measure. It seems like, say, 20-80 ratio. This seems like 20%, and the rest of it is 80%. And it can be connected with this flower like this. Later, you can observe that there is a distance here. So you may take center of this distance, right? And then curve it down till the center. It's not a compulsion that the direction and even the shape of the stem should remain the same. It's not a compulsion. You may make changes. It's okay if your stem is ending over here. It doesn't have to be from the center, right? It's not a compulsion. But whatever you're doing on one side, try to repeat it on the other side also. That is the bottom line. आप अपने हिसाब से कहीं पे भी changes कर सकते हैं. बस एक चीज का ध्यान रखिए that you are maintaining the symmetry on both the sides. So in my case, I have a little more space in the lower section. Hence, I am going till the center like this. Now you already know the grid method, so you can mark a point here and mark the point on the other side. You may use the symmetrical method also. Place your scale and mark a dot here You may place your scale here and mark a dot here and try to repeat the same curve like this. ये आप सेम चीज आप दूसरी साइड भी कर सकते हैं. Now a very important part wherein the placement of the elements, play an important role. So here, how to utilize this blank space. The same thing applies for the borders. काफी बच्चों ने borders में बहुत ज्यादा blank space छोड़ा है. You have left a lot of blank spaces in the borders. So how to utilize it? Yes. Are there any questions? Sonal, Uma. Are there any questions, Uma?
So I had a question long back. I wanted to know, sir, will you be teaching the placement of cow, or do we have to follow? So I will continue with this
recordings.
only.
No, you have to follow the recordings for the cow. And for placing the flowers, you can observe this class and watch today's recording. Okay? The
Okay.
placement of the cow, learning how to draw the cow, you should learn through the video recordings. Okay?
Okay. But on the upper part of the canvas, the flowers are there. There I want to replicate the what you are going to teach. So I can continue with that after these two flowers.
Yeah, you wait. Let me finish the today's session. And if there are other questions, if there are other doubts, we will discuss it after the class like we do in each session. Okay? Right now you can stay. If you wish to learn how to place the flowers, you may stay in the class. Yes. Now I was talking about how to place the flowers in these blank spaces. It's also known as negative spaces, right? So there are these negative, this is your negative space around the flower and the main stem. This is your negative space. Okay. So how do I utilize this space in order to place the maybe a full flower or a flower, but that call you have to take individually, that whether I do have a space wherein I can fit in the whole flower in a way that it does not touch the pedestal and the previously added flower. So in that case, take a call and place your element. So if I place a flower but in this direction, is it looking good? Can anyone tell me, is it looking good? If not,
No.
give me your answer. Why not?
It is not good. Should be slightly tilted.
No,
To the
not the
right.
direction. No,
But-
not the direction. Is the size okay?
No, the first petal. No, you can have one more petal or two more petals.
Right. So see, when we are talking about the rhythm, right? When we are talking about the elements, there should be a unity. This is not looking, quite united
The
because
direction should be same.
sorry.
Direction.
No, it's not like that. No, it's not like that. The direction won't matter a lot, but the size matters here. No,
Size is bigger.
yeah, the size is bigger than this. When we see a fully grown flower, the main petal should be bigger than this one. Wherein in our case it's opposite. राइट जब आप कोई कली देखते हैं तो वो फ्लावर से बड़ा नहीं होता यूजुअली इफ यू हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड अ फ्लावर or maybe a plant, usually the flower bud is not bigger than the main flower, right, which is a fully grown flower. So in such cases you must also follow some of the rules of nature and try to make it a little smaller. The direction doesn't matter a lot unless the direction is fully, opposite or it's very different. This direction seems good because it's facing towards Srinathji, right? So this is my flower bud. Now somebody was telling me to place another petal. So this is my another petal. So instead of that full bud having only one shape, this is looking better, right? Having at least two petals, it's looking better. Now you may connect it with the main line. This time it's more like a freehand drawing because we want to first draw it on the one side and then we will take the reference of this one and we will draw it on the other side. Okay, you may double the line here. Connect it. Now what about this space? We cannot fit in one whole flower bud here, right? Otherwise it will become too congested. So what about this blank space? Can I add a spiral there? So we can add this kind of a spiral. Hold your questions. If you have any doubts, please hold for now. Like this way. What about this blank space? What about this blank space? Nivedita and Somebody joining from iPad needs to mute. Please maintain the decorum of the class. We need to mute every single time once we are done with our doubts. Right. So what about this blank space? This we cannot fit in a spiral. We cannot fit in a flower bud. We cannot fit in maybe a leaf. Right. So what about this blank space? Can I fit in one shape like this? Is it looking better? So all of these things you will have to take a call and decide according to your line drawing. Is it looking good? Can anyone tell me? Is it a good placement?
No,
No,
sir.
sir. No.
No, why not? Why not? Give me a justification.
It's too cluttered. There's no negative space to
You
breathe.
should turn the other side.
Yes, very good. Now here the direction will play an important role. Why? Because the same shape, in the same size, in the same direction is placed here. So there is no meaning of this shape. It's not required. Okay. So you must be able to observe whether it's looking good, and you must be able to justify yourself. Why am I not adding that spiral here? Because it's the same shape, it's the same direction, right? Instead, if I place this, I think it'll look better. Okay. So these, all of these minute things, all of these small things you must keep in mind while drawing, while placing your elements. I hope you are getting my point in placing the elements in the negative spaces also, how to add on these elements. Now we have this space, right? We have this blank space. So we cannot fit in one whole flower bud, going in the downward direction. So we will place it in this direction. I'm not following the same line drawing which I have given you. I'm going for a different placement just to show you what are the possibilities. Make it a little smaller. Like this. Although we have a space here, so we may place another petal around it like this. Then you may connect it with the main line like this. Now what about this blank space? Can I add a spiral there? Now here this time it's looking good because it's in opposite direction and it's balancing it out. Okay, what about this blank space? Can I add a spiral there? Yes, it's looking good because the whole thing is now fully balanced. Initially it was a blank space here, now it is fully balanced. कहाँ पे कौन सी चीज ऐड करनी है वो आपको खुद से डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा. Okay, you must think, hold, and decide whether you want an element there. Now even these two flowers are looking similar, these two flowers are looking similar. It's almost the same size, almost the same shape, but the directions are different, but still it looks quite balanced. Okay, so all of these things you must keep in mind. You may place a flower bud if you want. You may place a flower bud only with one main petal. You may place it here. Now this is balancing everything out because here this one flower bud, only one flower bud is there, right? With only one petal. So all of this thing you must keep in mind. One more thing about overlapping. Sometimes you will feel that, okay, I want to overlap one element to the other, right? But if you're doing that, try to maintain that overlapped section in all of your background. अगर आप overlap कर रहे हैं, then you must do it in multiple areas and try to even balance the overlapped section. If you're not doing it, then don't do it at all. Now, when your shapes are touching each other, right now, none of my shape is touching each other, right? But if one flower, if you're placing like this, if it is touching the main line or if it is touching my spiral, it will not make a good sense, right? So if you are even planning to touch, these elements with each other, you must do it in some of the areas just to balance it out. I'm not denying that it's not possible or it won't look good, but it should be balanced. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is it about the lower section. Here, the placement can be, managed accordingly. In the reference image, the placement is this, wherein one flower bud having three petals, one flower bud only with one petal and two flowers like I showed in the live class right now, two flowers facing, one is facing towards Shinaji, one is opposite. So आप ये placement भी कर सकते हैं, it's your choice. Okay, so Now, let me just brief you how you're supposed to draw the other background elements if you're planning to add, a lot of flowers in the whole background, and how you must follow. Please observe this. One method can be your freehand drawing. You may take the reference from the image. You may check that there is a flower bud added in this section, because sometimes, your dupatta might be placed at a different position. So you might not have this kind of a blank space. That is why I'm suggesting that according to this method, which I showed just now, according to that method, you may place the elements. Try to connect them with the main line, try to observe the negative space, and try to balance it out. Okay. Sometimes I have observed that student, connect two stems in a very different way. For example, if one flower bud is here, they connect it like this way. This might not look very effective. Instead, you may go for this type of a connection, which is quite a smooth connection. I hope you're able to see this. So this kind of a connection is required, not this one. Okay. So please place the elements accordingly. Now I'm going to show you 3 more flowers which are coming right from Srinathji. Okay, so these 3 flowers will be the end of today's class, and your homework will be to place the all the elements according to your requirement. You may place these elements, and we will meet in the next session, right? So the last part of today's session is to place 3 more flowers which are very close to the subject, coming right from the back of the subject like this. 3 more flowers. Follow my lead, because this remains the same. If you are adding the Kamdenu cow, if you're adding the multiple flowers, if you're not adding the flowers, these 3 flowers will be there. Okay, so you can follow my lead. So you can take 3 centimeter as the radius, or maybe a little less than 3 centimeter. It can be nearly, say, 2.6, 2.5 to 2.6. Yeah, this seems like 2.5. You may take 2.5 centimeter as the radius of your rounder. Okay. Mark the center of this particular box. This is the first and second box, or I would say second vertical line from the left, second vertical line from the left, and the box in which the flute is beginning. The box in which the flute is beginning, right? Or maybe you can say the line of the turban, or you may say that where the turban is, where the crown is overlapping. So this is the second vertical line from the left. I'm taking the center of that box, marking a dot. It's okay if the center is, taken randomly rather than using the scale. You may take it a little down, you may take it a little up. It's your choice. Take 2.5 centimeter as the radius of your circle. Place your rounder and draw a circle of 2.5 centimeter. Okay, draw a circle of 2.5 centimeters. Place your rounder here and draw a circle. It's okay if the circle is slightly bigger or smaller. It's your choice. The circle should not touch the crown. That is your bottom line. It should not touch the flute. Okay. Now, here the direction of the flower will be exactly horizontal like this. So you may draw the line of symmetry in this horizontal manner. Placing the flower and the petal will remain the same. You may use the same method. This is too thin. I'll give you a tip. Whenever you're drawing the flower, it is advisable that you shift yourself at the tip of the flower. For example, the direction is here. So right now I'm standing here. My face is towards the tip. I'm looking my flower from here. So it will help you placing the petals in a symmetrical manner. So this is the main petal coming right in the center. It's okay if the shape is slightly different. Exact same shape nahi mil raha dono side. That is fine. Like this. I'm going for 7 petals first. One petal the opposite direction. And two overlapping each other like this. Observe the shape from the distance, and if you feel that you need to make changes, need to make it a little more symmetrical, you may make changes, right? You can also curve it down a little. So this is how your full flower is placed. You may connect the flower with the subject like this. उसको थोड़ा सा आप curve करके you may connect it. You can use the reference image to understand the placement of these flowers. Although it's slightly different from the reference image, in order to make you understand the placement, that's why I've chosen this method. Now the next flower is placed just right below it. Okay, in the same vertical, on the same vertical line, just below it, there is another box, right? There you're supposed to place. Maybe you can take the center again, take the center. This time the circle can be a little smaller. This time it can be nearly, say, 2 centimeter, or say 2.3 or 2 centimeter to 2.2 centimeter can be the circle. The only difference in the lower flower will be that the direction is changed. Right now the direction is facing downwards like this, not too down, it's somewhere near a slant line. Okay, the direction can be adjusted as per you. You need to draw a perpendicular line. This is my perpendicular line. The method remains the same. Place your main petal and the other petals around it. This time the number of petals will be little less than the full flower, right? So you may go for either 5 or you may go for 7 petals, right? You may connect it with the main line, and then it may, the curve should remain similar. It should connect the subject. And the last you can draw on your own using your freehand drawing technique. For example, over here, this flower is mostly having 2 petals. So observe this distance, observe this negative space, right? Accordingly, you can place. I cannot place a flower over here. Otherwise, it will be, the distance is changing, right? Here it's too much, it's too less. So place it according to the first 2 flowers. So I think maybe over here I can place, it's too big according to the other flowers. I'm going to reduce the size of it. I'm going to make it a little smaller now. Now, once you place the main flower bud, you can observe that, do I have more space here or do I have more space here? Do I want to utilize this side of blank space or this side, or both, right? So you have to take that call, and accordingly you can place. And then you may connect it. Again, the connection is going to be in a curvy manner like this. You may utilize these blank spaces by adding the spirals. Over here you may draw this kind of a shape. go back and observe your work, because sometimes when you're drawing, you're too much into your work, you don't know what is the right placement. Go back, observe your work, take a pause, and check whether it's looking good or I need to make some changes, right? Accordingly, you place your elements and you may change. So that is it about today's session. Let me just show it to you from the top. So yeah, we have completed the lower section on one side. The same you have to repeat on the other side according to the first, placement. And we have learned how to place these three flowers, which are coming right from the subject from Srinathji. And we have learned how to place, the elements using the grid method and using the, negative spaces. So you may learn, you may practice it. If your element is slightly different, you may also draw it first on a rough paper and try going for the same size. For example, I want to add the cow, and I want to add the cow in a way that it's coming right from the border. Okay. So that is one another placement, a very different placement. So I want my cow to come right from the border. I'm just placing the book so that you can understand. I want the cow coming right from the border, and only the half part of the cow should be visible. Is it a possibility? Well, yes, it is possible. You may utilize this space. Even this negative part is also going to help you, placing the face of the cow and the body and both the front foot. Okay. So this is another placement. You may definitely go for it. If you want to place the whole cow, you may first of all cut out a paper of the same size. आप यहाँ पे ये जो बॉक्स है उसके साइज का पेपर काट लीजिए. Try to practice the cow on that paper. Flip the paper and scratch it. Place it and then scratch it. Your line drawing will be transferred. And the best part is that you already want I would say, a mirror image, right? So you draw it on the paper and flip it and place it on the other side. Place it on the other side. So यहाँ पे ये जो line drawing है वो मेरा यहाँ पे आ जाएगा, and then I scratch it. So automatically my line drawing will be transferred. So these are some, techniques which can be utilized for getting a similar mirror image, right? So that is it from my end. Today's class ends here. We are right on time. It's 12 o'clock. We are ending early because you have a lot of homework to do. According to your placement, I think some of you might be selecting a lot of flowers in the background, right? So you have a lot of homework to do. So आप आराम से ये week का time utilize करके वो चीज add कर लीजिए. If you are planning to add the Kamdenu cow, I would suggest to go for at least 2 practices on a rough paper and then place it right on the canvas. Fine. So that is it from my end. Let me hold the recording here, and then we will have the question answer.